Hey Reddit, what's your best dirty joke? There is a signalman up in the Highlands. He really wants to get a promotion, so he sends a letter to British Rail and they send up an assessor. He asks him what he would do if two trains were barreling down a track at each other. The signalman says he would out one train on a passing loop. But what if the points are jammed? I would throw the emergency switch. But what if the switch is on fire? I would run out and use the lever on the line to switch the train into the passing loop. But what if it was struck by lightning? Then I'd get my Uncle Alistair. Why? He's never seen a train crash before. Stolen from Billy Connolly. Another long one but too good to resist. An elderly gentleman goes to his doctor for a physical. Checked his blood work, heart and lungs. Everything looks great. The doctor said he had one more test to perform. He needed the man to go home to collect a sperm sample in this jar to see how his reproductive health is. The old man says no problem with a smile. The next morning, the man returns and the doctor greets him. He hands the doctor the empty jar. The doc asked what happened. The old man begins, you see, I came home and first tried with my right hand and then with my left. I tried with both hands and still nothing. I asked my wife for help. She tried with her right hand, then her left, and then both, still nothing. Then she tried with her mouth. First teeth in then teeth out. Still nothing. We decided to call over our neighbor. Lovely young woman. Helps us out time to time. She said she would come over to help. She tries with her right hand, then her left, with both. She tried with her mouth. First teeth and then teeth out. She even stuck it between her knees. The doctor cut him off. You asked your neighbor. Old man simply responds, why yes. None of us could get the jar open. A man walked into a tavern and took a seat at a bar. The tavern master walked up to the man and asked him, what can I do for you tonight? The man looked at the tavern master and said, in my left pocket I have a 10-inch pianist. For a mug of your finest brew I will have him play you a song that would bring a tear to the eyes of the gods. Intriguing, the tavern master poured the man a mug of the finest brew, and true to his word the man pulled a tiny pianist from his pocket. And with a nod he began to play. At the end of the song and with tears in his eyes, the tavern master asked what else this stranger could do. With a smile the man replied, in my right pocket I have a tiny wizard who will grant you one wish if you give me a whole keg of your finest brew. Without hesitation the tavern master rolled a keg of his finest brew out for the stranger who, true to his word, pulled a tiny wizard from his pocket. Eager for his wish, the tavern master turned to the wizard and declared, wizard, I want 100,000 bucks. With a twinkle in his eye and a wave of his wand, a bright light filled the tavern. And when the light cleared, the tavern master found that his tavern was filled with 100,000 ducks, all quaking away in surprise. Angrily, he turned to the stanger, who was helping himself to the keg, and asked what the big deal was. With a sardonic smile the man replied, the wizard is hard of hearing. Do you really think I wished for a 10-inch pianist? I thought it was gonna be 100,000 dear. A nurse in a care home walked past one of the bedrooms to see an elderly lady sucking on her husband's penis. She came in and said, Mrs. Phillips, you can't do that. Why not? She asked. I enjoy doing it. Yes, she replied, but it was meant to be buried with the rest of him. Man, I just had a 12-hour shift of a gyropsych last night and that has me sent, boy. Two men broke into a drugstore and stole all the Viagra. The police put out an alert to be on the lookout for the two hardened criminals. I heard they dumped it in a river while evading police. The folks downstream are having real trouble with hard water. A man with no arms and no legs sits at the beach pondering his lonely life. Three beautiful women walk by and the first woman, taking pity on the man, walks up and asks, have you ever been hugged before? No, says the man. So she hugs him and walks on. The second woman, also taking pity on the man, walks up and asks, have you ever been kissed before? No, the man replies sorrowfully. So she kisses him and walks on. The third woman also walks up to the man and asks him, have you ever been fricked before? Number, says the man, now with a tear in his eye. Well, that's what you're gonna be when the tide comes in. An older man is in the hospital and has the oxygen mask on. A new nurse comes in to give him a sponge bath and he asks her in a muffled voice, "Are my testicles black?" She looks at him embarrassed and tells him, "Sorry sir, I'm just here to clean your upper body. You'd need the doctor here for that." The man stayed silent until finally after some time he asks her again, "Are my testicles black?" Embarrassed but figuring that the old man seems stressed and "No sir, your testicles seem fine." The old man removes his mask and speaks again, this time clearly. "Thank you nurse, that's reassuring. Now listen carefully. Are my test results back?" I knew this one and I really love it for some reason. So there's this girl, right? We'll call her Ashley. Ashley's been flat-chested her whole life and as she approaches her mid-20s she wants to get a boob job. So she goes to see this doctor by the name of Dr. Bob, and Dr. Bob tells her if she wants bigger boobs all she has to do is wake up every morning, rub her chest, and at the same time say Scooby-Dooby-Doo, "I want bigger boobs." So she starts doing this for a couple weeks and she realizes it's starting to work. But one morning while she's taking the bus she realizes she forgot about her new morning routine. So she looks around, makes sure the coast is clear, and rubs her chest while saying Scooby-Dooby-Doo, "I want bigger boobs." All of a sudden the guy behind her goes, "Hey, have you been seeing Dr. Bob too?" And she goes, "Yeah, how do you know?" And the man responds, "Hickory dickory dock." In a similar joke I've heard the girl has a pump installed and has to flap her arms to make her boobs bigger. When she sees an attractive man at the store she ducks around the corner and starts pumping her boobs up. She comes back around the corner to see the man making a similar flapping motion only with his leg. A husband and wife are at the hospital in the delivery room during labor. Doctor says, "We have this new machine that lets the father of the child take some of the labor pains to make it easier on the mother. Would you guys like to try that?" Husband says, "Yes, of course. Anything for my wife." So the doctor hooks the husband up to the machine and says, "Okay, we're gonna turn it to 10% and just let me know how much you can take, okay? How do you feel?" Husband, "I feel fine." Doctor, "Okay, well go to 20%, what about now?" Husband, "I'm feeling good. No pain." Doctor, "Alright, does the mother feel less pain?" Wife, "Oh yes, it's way less painful. Whoa." Doctor, "Let's go to 40%. Tell me if it's getting too much for you, sir." Husband, "I don't really feel anything, lol, I'm so glad this is working." Doctor, "It seems strange you aren't feeling anything though. Let's try 60%. How's everyone feeling now?" Wife, "I can't believe it. I barely feel anything at all." Husband, "Nothing, not a thing. This machine is amazing." Doctor, "Well, let's go to 80% then and just see, okay?" Wife, "I don't feel it at all, this is incredible." Husband, "I don't feel any pain, I'm just so glad this is working for her." Doctor, "Well, if it's working so well and I don't see an issue here from my screen, so we're going to try 100%. Husband, "I still don't really feel it, lol." Wife, "I don't feel any pain, I can't believe we're having a baby so peacefully." Doctor, "I'm not quite sure why you didn't feel the pain you were taking from your wife. It's designed to give the pain setting to the father, but everything looks good and checks out. Now let's get that little guy out." After delivering the lovely baby the couple heads home very excited and relieved it wasn't a painful experience. "What marvelous science and technology," they said as they turned onto their street. As they pull into the driveway and stop the car they see paper and envelopes scattered throughout the yard, and the mailman laying dead on the front porch. That joke used to be told about the milkman, but I guess there aren't any milkmen left around anymore. This may not translate well, but here goes. A little backstory. Chilkan is a guy that in my home country has a lot of stories and jokes about. He's generally known to be a pervert. Chilkan learns about an agricultural fair coming to his town. There is a cow milking contest where the winner takes home a cash prize. Looking to make a quick buck, Chilkan signs up for the contest. When his friends point out that he has no experience milking a cow, he says, "Well, I'm an expert at fondling boobs, and a cow's udder is nothing but a huge boob. So how hard can it be? I think I'm good." So the day of the contest arrives. The first contestant gets 20 liters of milk from the cow, the second contestant gets 30 liters, and the third gets 40 liters. Finally it is Chilkan's turn. He milks and milks his cow, but eventually he has to give up with only half a liter in his milk bucket. His friends come up to him, Chilken, what happened? I thought you said you had this. Was it not like a boob? To which Chilken replies, they fricked me over. They gave me a bull. I have a few dirty limericks I wrote. I once knew a woman from Kent who desired a well-to-do gent. She wanted a wedding, an orthodox wedding, but I'm afraid he just came and then went. I once knew a man from New York whose pecker was split like a fork. Though men were disgusted, the ladies just loved it. He could pleasure both starboard and port. I didn't write this one, but there once was a H named Sue who filled her vagina with glue. She said with a grin, if they pay to get in, they'll pay to get out again, too. I was with my uncle at a pub and he tells me, lad, see that there table? I built that table with me own 2 hands, spent days cutting and sanding the wood. But does anybody call me Billy the table maker? No. Then he point out the door to the dock and says, see that there dock? I put long days and late night went into that dock. But does anybody call me Billy the dock builder? No. He grabs his pint and take a swig and says, but you frick one goat. I just saw someone mention this joke in a completely different thread XD. This one's long, but here it is. A man gets onto a city bus and sees an attractive nun wanting to have sex with her. He goes up and asks, will you have sex with me? Of course not, the nun said unnervingly, and got off the bus. Before the depressed man left the bus driver stops him and says, I know how you can screw her. On Sundays, she prays at the local cemetery. While she is praying, dress as God and she'll have sex with you. Put on a mask, robes, and a lot of glitter. That Sunday, the man takes the advice, gets into the costume and hides behind a gravestone. Shortly, the nun appears and prays. The man pops out from the gravestone and declares, I am God, and I command you to have sex with me. The nun replies, sure, but only if we have anal sex, so I can remain a virgin. So they have anal sex. After sex, the man rips off his mask and laughs. I'm not God. I'm that man from the bus. Ha. Immediately the nun rips off her mask and says, ha. I'm the bus driver. 3 pregnant women were at the OBGYN to find out the sex of their babies. They got to talking in the waiting room and the brunette says, I know mine is a boy because I was on bottom when I got pregnant. The redhead thinks for a second and says, well then mine must be a girl because I am always on top. The blonde gets excited and says, I can't wait to see my puppies. They say that during sex you burn off as many calories as running 8 miles. Who the heck runs 8 miles in 30 seconds? Well, Jesus, if you ran 8 miles in 30 seconds you'd freaking burn a crap ton of calories. 2 sperm are swimming side by side. One says to the other, how far to the fallopian tubes? I don't know, but we just passed the esophagus. I read that as sperm whales and was thoroughly confused about 2 whales being stuck in some poor person's throat. Time for my favorite bar joke. 3 guys are walking their dogs and get to chatting while they do their business. As things wrap up, the first man says, hey, watch this. He drops 3 treats on the ground, and his dog walks up, studies them, then barks, woof, woof, woof. See that? I'm a mathematician. I taught my dog how to count. That's nothing, says the second man. He drops a small pile of treats. His dog walks up and begins nosing and pawing around, and then steps back, having made a perfectly stacked pyramid. I'm an engineer. I taught my dog construction. Guys, that's nothing. I'm a bartender. Watch this. The third man drops 2 milk bones on the ground and steps back. His dog crushes both treats, snorts them, fricks the other 2 dogs and then calls out of work sick the next day. Gotta admit I laughed too hard at this. This one starts a bit dark, but here it goes. A woman is pregnant with triplets and gets jumped in a back alley one night and shot 3 times in the stomach. The shots are heard and a passerby calls an ambulance which arrives in no time and saves the woman and the 3 unborn children. After the procedure is done and she is about ready to go home, the doctor pulls her aside. Okay, so we were able to deliver all 3 children healthy, but the bullet is still inside of them. They will pass the bullet in time and it should be painless for them, just be aware that they will more than likely be startled. The mother and her children, 2 girls and a boy, go home and live a happy life. No problems come about and the children do not mention passing a bullet until around the time they turn 12. One of the daughters runs up to her mother screaming, "Mom, Mom, I went to pee and a bullet fell out. The mother comforts the child, explaining the whole ordeal to the daughter. They dispose of the bullet and both their days go on as normal for about a week when the other daughter comes up screaming, "Mom, Mom, I went pee and a bullet fell out again." The mother comforts the child and all returns to normal. 2 days later the son comes up screaming, "Mom, Mom." The mother interrupts and says, "Let me guess, you had to pee and a bullet came out." The son, still spooked, says, "No, I was jacking off and I shot the dog." A wife says to her husband, "I'm leaving you and going to the city where I can do BJs for $100 each. At least then I'll have some money." So the husband runs upstairs and brings down a suitcase full of his things. Wife asks, "Wait, where do you think you're going?" Husband replies, "I'm coming with you. I'm curious to see how you'll live on $300 a year." Jack and Jill have grown up. They've graduated from uni, gotten married, and got a job at the same firm. One day, while going through the books and after much deliberation, their boss decides he must lay off one employee. Jack and Jill are the most recent hires, so it must be one of them. The problem is he hired them at the same time, and he doesn't want to be biased or sexist, so he decides the first one of them to use the drinking fountain will get the axe. While he's considering what to say, Jill walks up with some aspirin to take a drink. Her boss, very sympathetically, says, "Jill, I've either got to lay you or jack off." Jill responds with a sigh, "Well, you'll have to jack off. I've got a headache." Guy's wife is in a horrible car accident and survives, but she is in a coma. After months with no sign of recovery, the husband is desperate to try anything to get his wife back. He asks the doctor if there's anything else they can try. The doctor tells him, "I know this sounds crazy, but I've seen it work before. So if you're really willing to try anything, I'll stand out here and guard the door while you go into her room and perform oral sex on her." The guy says, "What? That could work?" The doctor tells him, "It's rare, but as I said, I have seen it work." The guy hesitates but then decides he'll give it a try if there's any chance it will work. He goes into the hospital room and returns several minutes later. He says, "I don't know, doc. This is so strange. Are you sure about this?" The doctor says, "Sure, I understand, but it usually takes a little time. Keep trying." The guy hangs his head but goes back in, willing to do anything for his wife. About 10 minutes later, he comes back out of the door looking completely distraught. "I'm not sure I can do this anymore, doc. It's upsetting me. This could be her last hope." The doctor tells him, "If you want her back, give it one more try." After taking a few minutes to gather his composure, the guy goes back into the hospital room one more time, this time staying inside for almost an hour. When he finally comes out of the door, the doctor is patiently waiting and sees that the guy is weeping and looking defeated. Through tears, the guy says, "I can't do it anymore, doc. She keeps choking." Norm Macdonald killed with this joke on Conan, if I recall correctly. Freaking gold. My buddy's girlfriend got a tattoo of a seashell on her inner thigh. He said every time he puts his ear up to it he can smell the ocean. That's a great, clean, dirty joke. A man walks into a bar with a cat and an ostrich. He walks up to the bar and orders a round of drinks. The cat perks up and says, "I'm not paying." The man reassures the cat, "Don't worry, it's on me." They sit down at a table and finish their drinks. The man goes back up to the bar and orders a second round. The cat again shouts out, "I'm not paying." The man reassures the cat and pays. When the man comes up for the third time, the barman's curiosity gets the better of him and he asks the man why he has a cat and an ostrich with him. The man replies that he was on an expedition in Egypt and found a magical lamp. When he rubbed it, a genie came out and granted him a wish. The barman is confused. "What on earth did you wish for to get a talking cat and an ostrich?" he asks. The man replies, "I wished for a bird with long legs and a tight pee. I wished for a bird with long legs and a tight pee." For your information, for confused Americans, change bird to chick. A long one, but I think it's worth it. There's this guy who's in the market for a used motorcycle. Always wanted a nice big hog. So he's shopping around, answering ads in the newspaper, and not having much luck. One day he comes across a beautiful classic Harley with a for sale sign on it. Upon inspection, he is amazed to find the bike in mint condition. He inquires about it with the owner. "This bike is beautiful. I'll take it. But you gotta tell me how you keep it in such good shape." Well, says the seller, it's pretty simple. Just make sure that if the bike is outside and it's going to rain, rub Vaseline on the chrome. It protects it from the rain. In fact, since you're buying the bike, I won't need my tube of Vaseline anymore. Here, you can have it. So the guy buys the bike and off he goes, a happy biker. He takes the bike over to show his girlfriend. She's ecstatic. Being a Harley fan. That night, he decides to ride the bike over to his girlfriend's parents' house. It's the first time he is going to meet them and figures it will make a big impression. When the couple gets to the house, the girlfriend grabs her boyfriend's arm. Honey, she says, I gotta tell you something about my parents before we go in. When we eat dinner, we don't talk. In fact, the person who says anything during dinner has to do the dishes. No problem, he says. And in they go. The boyfriend is astounded. Right smack in the middle of the living room is a huge stack of dirty dishes. In the family room, another huge stack of dishes. Piled up the stairs, dirty dishes. In fact, everywhere he looks, dirty dishes. They sit down to dinner and, sure enough, no one says a word. As dinner progresses, the boyfriend decides to take advantage of the situation. So he leans over and kisses his girlfriend. No one says a word. So he decides to reach over and fondle her breasts. He looks at her parents, but still they keep quiet. So he stands up, grabs his girlfriend, strips her naked, and they make love right on the dinner table. Still, no one says a word. Her mom's kinda cute, he thinks. So he grabs his girlfriend's mom and has his way with her right there on the dinner table. Again, total silence. Then, a few raindrops hit the window and the boyfriend realizes it's starting to rain. He figures he'd better take care of the motorcycle. So he pulls the Vaseline from his pocket. Suddenly the father stands up and shouts, all right, I'll do the dang dishes. This is the best one that I have seen in this thread. One of the employees of the local pickle factory is having a difficult time at home with his wife. She never wants to have sex anymore and there is always an excuse. One day after another excuse from his wife, he loses his cool and yells, I can't take this anymore. I'm just gonna go to work and stick it in the pickle slicer, to which she quickly replies, go right ahead. So the next day he heads to work but comes home early. The wife inquires as to why he is home so early, to which he replies, I got fired. I told you I was going to work to stick it in the pickle slicer and I did. She is in shock and asks him to whip it out so she can see the damaged. But when he does, there is nothing wrong. Geez, nothing happened to you. What happened to the pickle slicer, she asks. Oh, they fired her too. My personal favorite. 3 men were walking along in the forest when they were captured by a group of cannibals. The king of the cannibals gives the 3 men a challenge. If you complete this challenge, you will go free. If not, we will eat you. The 3 men, not wanting to die, agree to hear the challenge. You must go into the forest and pick out 10 of any fruit you find. Bring those fruits back here, the king says. The 3 men head out in search of their fruit. The first man comes back with 10 apples in his hands, happy as can be. The king then says, you must shove those 10 apples up your butt without making a sound. The man reluctantly agrees to try. He gets the first one up without a sound, but screams in agony on the second and is killed and eaten. The second man comes back with 10 grapes in his hand. Again the king states the challenge. The 10 fruit up the butt, without any sound. This is going to be easy, he thinks. He gets through the first 9 without a single sound. Just as he is about to shove the 10th grape up, he bursts out in laughter. He is killed immediately. The second guy, still laughing, meets the first guy up in heaven. The first guy says, what's so funny? You could have still been alive. He replies, I saw our buddy coming back with 10 pineapples and a huge smile. My dad told me the same joke, except it was 3 Marines that crashed on a desert island. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.